Look, folks, it's simple to me. Canada needs more people. Canadians understand the need to continue to grow our population if we're going to meet the needs of the labour force, and if we're going to continue to reunite families and to do right by the world and make good on our commitments to support some of the world's most vulnerable. My view is that Canada is uniquely positioned in the world to use immigration to achieve these outcomes. You know, immigration in Canada is not just something that we do, it's who we are. It's who we've always been.
It is who we've always been. Okay then. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the immigration policies here in Canada, as well as just immigration in general. Now, that clip was back from 2022 when Sean Fraser was the immigration minister before becoming the housing minister. But if you saw any of the media over the weekend, you would have seen the increased reports of attacks and riots happening in France, the UK, Germany, due to a lot of the immigrants and migrants who have arrived. Just yesterday, we had the lunatic in Boulder, Colorado. It's being reported who is an Egyptian national, overstayed his visa, which had expired back in 2023, still in the States somehow, throwing Molotov cocktails into groups who were pro-Israel, and he's pro-Palestine. And we're starting to see that violence kind of trickle down here as well into Canada. Now, last week we had, during the Military and Defense Convention in Ottawa, a handful of people, I think 11 to 13 protesters, got arrested for being violent with the police. And even prior to that, last week, which didn't really get much media coverage, I didn't see one news outlet except for the people on the ground reporting on this. You had pro-Palestine groups actually blocking the Ontario food terminal, not allowing vehicles to enter with food and produce for Canadian citizens because they're protesting what's happening in Gaza. And again, the mainstream media didn't cover this, only the boots on the ground did.
And none of these trucks are getting into the Ontario food terminal.
Now, I've cut that video down because it's closer to 2.5 to 3 minutes of them riding their e-scooters recording all those trucks. Imagine if they didn't have the e-scooters, how long that video actually would have been with the lineup of trucks that were there. I think it was over 200 was reported just sitting there idling, waiting to enter. They eventually did enter, but blocking critical infrastructure like that here in Canada should be a jailable offense immediately. And it's interesting that our government has yet to say anything on this. Like I said, I haven't seen any reports on mainstream media or coming from the government saying anything about this event that took place, but how easily they are there to defend the Palestinians with Israel when the same tactic is happening and they're saying how food shouldn't be used this way.
Israel's blocking food and aid to Gaza. What do you think of that decision? And is the Canadian government doing anything to stop that?
We cannot allow the continued use of food as a political tool. The Prime Minister has been very clear about that. Over 50,000 people have died, and using food as a political tool is simply unacceptable.
Now, clearly this isn't a complete apples to apples comparison, but the fact that these protesters were able to get away with this without any major consequences might just embolden them to block this terminal again and again. And the fact that Canadians are now being punished for something that is happening in the Middle East is a little ridiculous. But all of this is happening while articles like this are coming out where it says what the data shows about the state of immigration in Canada since cuts were announced, which is what the government did earlier this year. The number of permanent residents in a single quarter has declined by 15%, but the number of temporary foreign workers has grew slightly. And this is getting tied into articles that are coming out from Juno News and Rebel News, as well as posts on Reddit, saying that Canada took in 817,000 new immigrants in the first 4 months of 2025. And this is due to the latest federal immigration data, where the article explains between January and April of 2025, 132,000 people were granted permanent residency, while 194,000 were study permits and 491,000 were work permits. And this was all finalized by the IRCC, which is the Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship of Canada. Now, to me, this is slightly misleading because, as it states here, this is including extensions, which they add throughout this article. So to me, it's not like a brand new 817,000 people were brought in. A lot of them could have been here and just extended or reapplied. But if we look back to the National Post article there and we take a look at some of the numbers that Canada has already talked about, Canada's immigration plan aims to admit 395,000 permanent residents, a 21% decrease compared to 2024. However, if you take a look at this number, 395,000, and the number that is already being reported, we're already a third of the way there. And the other numbers are just even higher. This number for new students, if we take a look at what they've already allowed in, this is already at 64% of the way. And at the new temporary workers, we've surpassed it. This is saying 367,000. This is claiming that 491,000 have already got work permits. Now, this is including the extension, so maybe some of the numbers are skewed, but this is not the trajectory that we should be looking at. Now, the Bank of Canada actually put out this report earlier this month saying a shift in Canadian immigration, the composition and its effect on wages. And it states that we documented recent changes in Canadian immigration between 2015 and 2024. Trudeau's government, temporary workers have become younger, less experienced, and more likely to migrate from lower income countries. Now, if we look at this graph, this is the cumulative change in populations by migratory changes versus natural changes, so deaths versus migration. And look at where Canada is. Like, this is unsustainable to have this high of a growth. And when you look at the next chart, it says contributions to annual population growth. Look at this spike of red above me. This is for 2022, and that's non-permanent residents, the red, which it states, to investigate the surge of non-permanent residents, we look at data and temporary permanent holders by the IRCC, which is something that we referenced in the previous article. And when you go down to the chart there, it says the average annual inflow of non-permanent resident permit holders and asylum seekers by program. Look at the red, which is all 2023 to 2024. It is just skyrocketing compared to any other years. And this is highly unsustainable. If we don't want to become France or Germany or the UK, then we don't just need to curb the immigration. We need to actually stop it. And this is coming from somebody who's definitely benefited from immigration. As I mentioned before, my parents are both immigrants. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. But when you're importing this many people who don't share your same values, who aren't willing to assimilate or even take up some Canadian culture, then this is going to be a huge problem. Now, not too long ago, I saw a video from a Brazilian woman who moved to Texas some 2 decades ago, and she had the exact same message to all the newcomers.
I moved over here from Brazil, and I'm pretty much Americanized by now, in case you can't tell. It's been over 25 years. I'm now a proud American citizen, and I have worked hard to adopt this country as my own and become a valuable part of this community. Let me introduce you to this word, which means to adopt something as one's own and become a part of it, which is what's supposed to be your job as an immigrant. So that means that I can come over here and introduce you to some cool stuff like Guaraná and Farofa, but I'm not supposed to be coming over here and be an invasive species. That's not the reason I came. I came here to be one of you. If I thought Brazil was so much better, I would have stayed there. Someone explain to me why I am expected to respect and abide by everyone else's customs, literally everywhere else in the world, everywhere else I go except here. Oh, but some people are fighting political persecution. Okay, well, if your land and your country and your culture and all that's so much better than we are, then you stay there and you figure it out and you fix it. That sounds like a you problem. Basically put, if you're not coming over here to assimilate like me, then you need to stay right where you are. Period. Full stop.
Now, normally, if you say any of this, you're called a racist, a bigot. You're called some sort of conspiracy theorist because of the Great Replacement theory. But this is not something that is a theory anymore. We have people openly talking about replacing individuals, having us replenished. And a prime example is just 2 weeks ago, Hillary Clinton was on a panel, and this is what she had to say about immigration.
But there's more to that. There's also this, as I posted the other day, this very blatant effort to basically send a message, most exemplified by Vance and Musk and others, that, what we really need from you women are more children. And what that really means is you should go back to doing what you were born to do, which is to produce more children. And they're talking about, cash benefits for the more children you have. This has been tried, by the way, in other countries, and it has not worked. Or medals if you have 6 children. While they're contemplating cutting Medicaid, while they have no interest in paid family leave or funding quality child care, they're cutting Head Start. I mean, you go down the list of all the programs that support child rearing and the care of children and create, some safety net for women who are in the workforce, the formal workforce, as well as, raising children. So this is another performance about concerns they allegedly have for family life. But if you had read the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, despite Trump saying he knew nothing about it, if you had read it, it's all in there. It's all in there. Return to the family, the nuclear family, return to being a Christian nation, return to, producing a lot of children, which is sort of odd because the people who produce the most children in our country are immigrants and they want to deport them. So none of this adds up. But, one of the reasons why our economy did so much better than comparable advanced economies across the world is because we actually had a replenishment, because we had a lot of immigrants, legally and undocumented, who had a, larger than normal, by American standards, family. So this is just another one of their, make America great again by returning to the lifestyles and the economic arrangements of not just the 1950s. I mean, let's keep going back as far as we can and, see what happens. So
instead of making life more affordable like it was in the past where you didn't need dual income, you could have the man just go out and work, the woman could stay home, raise the children, have an actual family life. They want to put more money into programs where somebody else can watch your kids, or you hire some sort of immigrant to do that, and have 2 people struggling just to survive, because even now 2 incomes isn't enough. But not to worry, because we're actually not that concerned about replacing our own people. We have immigrants coming here to replenish the numbers. That's essentially what she's talking about. So her complaining about Project 2025, whether Donald Trump knew about it or not, is something that should be a goal. We should be trying to have more children as a society. Women these days, they don't have children for a lot of other reasons, but one of the main ones is financially. They can't afford it. They can't be on one income, or you can't have a house plus a kid, or this or that. So making it more accessible for people to have children by making life more affordable would probably be the best practice, not so much just bringing in new people who will replenish you and then eventually wipe you out. And we have more stats that were released from Stats Canada earlier this year, January 2025. This is the number of permanent residents in Canada. You could see the drop during the world event, and then the increase, the huge increase in numbers that they decided to bring in. Some of these other charts are from 2024 data. In Ontario alone, there was almost 200,000 immigrants that came to the province. Not so much in Nunavut. I guess they're too afraid of the cold there. But number of immigrants that are coming, again, these are sky high. We have a number of people that are immigrating by age. This is unsettling, 25 to 29, 30 to 34. And a lot of these, I believe, are men, single men. They're not families, they're not young women. A lot of them are men. And when you look at the populations, this is data back from 2022, India is sky high. And then China is not even close. There needs to be a cap of how many individuals you are bringing from a specific country for sure, or else you're getting these numbers that are insane. And this is actually what this guy said on this post. Would a country cap on permanent residence intake increase diversity in Canada? I think it's a great idea. We had over 400,000 permanent and non-permanent residents from one country in the year of 2023, equivalent to another London, Ontario. And when you look at this chart here, 2020 to 2025 admissions of permanent residents to Canada, India was at 28% of all those admissions, followed by China and then the Philippines. And this is data that you can find also on the IRCC. This was back from 2022, where India was still high, 27, then China. Philippines wasn't as high as it is now. It's gone up a little bit. So now they're at 6%, whereas here they were at 5%. But this is all due to the programs that Canada has in terms of allowing individuals to come in. So you have provincial nominee programs, you have skilled workers sponsored by the spouse, Canadian experience. And if you go all the way down, skilled trades, we only had 35 individuals come in 2024. But this is because of how many different avenues we have to allow people to immigrate to Canada. Express entry, provincial nominees, family sponsorship, caregivers, Atlantic immigration program. It goes on and on, the refugees. And in my opinion, this all has to stop. We need to put a hard cap on immigration, especially for the next few years, and focus on making life more affordable for Canadians. The fact that a dual income family can't either one, afford a house or even start to raise a family is a huge problem. And the government solution is $10 a day daycare program so that you can have somebody else watching your kids for you instead of yourselves because you can't risk going down to one income. Or the school food program for children because a lot of people can't afford packing a lunch for their kids. This is a huge problem in a place like Canada. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about all this. If you can, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment, like, do all those good things. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.